Welcome everybody to the Keys to Wisdom channel. So you can see here I've got a little phrase set up here to start with: the nation of Israel and the synagogue of Satan. So this is something that I've been dabbling with the last couple weeks. I was thinking about putting out one of the little videos I do with just sharing the stuff and putting some music with it. But this topic here is too big and too sensitive, and I think it's best off if I just talk about it and show and say the different things that I've found through working on this the last couple weeks. So here, when I put in this phrase here, right, the nation of Israel, we could be talking about the old nation of Israel. Or we could be talking about the modern nation of Israel. But within the numbers here that come up is an anagram of 1948. In 1948, right? In the left and right, 1948 plus 8491 is 10439, and that 10439 doubled up as this 2878. It also applies into the Lishrel numbers list that I've been revealing and showing everybody and teaching everybody about here, right? 1498 is the first year after the first day. 1497, where the 3,761 year bridge applies to 5258 for the first day. And then the sixth day is 1947. The year after that is 1948, right? 1947 plus the 3761 year bridge is the year 5708. The year Anno Monday, Hebrew year 5708, begins at the end of 1947 and ends in 1948. The 5258 year begins in 1497 and ends in 1498. So we have a significance here to this Lishrel numbers candidate list through the very first day, and then the sixth day, and the creation of Israel. And as I've gone over it before, this whole deal is about here, this Lishrel numbers list. These are Anno Domini AD current years, going all the way to the point where the last one that come up was 1997, the 26th time, right? And the 27th won't come up till 2494. Right, and all of these years that are now Anno Domini AD years have already come up as AM years, Anno Monday years, Hebrew years. But they've all read, but we are well beyond that now. And the last Hebrew year that come up was 5763. And the next one will be 5798 on this list. But the instances where the 3,761 year bridge apply don't begin until 1497. And they've only happened 6 times, 1947 and 5708. And because of the stagger of the two calendars, this 5258, the first time that it happened, it carries over into 1498. And the last time that it happened, in 5708, the creation of Israel, right, the 1947, it carried over into 1948. So when I put this phrase in here, a lot of this stuff is really piqued my eye because it's Lishrel related, and it's directly related to the birth of Abram in 1948 AM and the birth of Israel in 1948 AD. So when we're putting these words in here, the numeric clarification is the modern nation of Israel. And I'm just going to change this here to all roads lead to Rome. And we'll just flip this around. The nation of Israel and all the roads lead to Rome. So now when I've got this out here, you'll find a lot of people talking about the Synagogue of Satan being much more than just people who lie and say that they're Jews who are not. Right? They talk about the whole world system of different liars, although you could apply it like right now, like Joe Biden will come out and say, I'm a Zionist. Well, he's supposed to be a Roman Catholic, right? And you have all these different leaders of all these different countries. They're all, I'm a Zionist, I'm a Zionist, I'm a Zionist. It's a lot of that can be interpreted as those who say they're Jews who are not, right? All these Zionist Christians all over the place, massive supporters of the current nation of Israel, and stating that I am a Zionist is a similar thing to the meaning of those who say they are Jews and who are not. And then there's many ways to apply that to the people who are actually in Israel and going back to what their real roots are, and whether that's Khazaria or other places, converts, much later converts to Judaism, then moving into there and saying, "This is I'm an Israelite, right? I'm a descendant of Jacob, Israel, one of the 12 tribe members." And there's a lot of different ways to look at this, but then also it's about like who created the nation of Israel. Well, when it got recreated, it wasn't the Israelites didn't recreate it. The Jewish people didn't recreate it. It was recreated from those roads that all lead to Rome. It's all these Christian nations and Christian leaders who recreated Israel in 1948. Right? So I'll hopefully talk about more of this stuff as we get going. Well, actually, I'm gonna right now. Well, maybe not right now. Let me hold this. Let me pull up something else before we get going. We'll take the two Bible verses of about the Synagogue of Satan. Throw them up there real fast. My goodness, I've got such a big list of stuff going on. I gotta find my place here. Let's see, below this. Alright. So there's two instances where the Synagogue of Satan is referenced within the Bible, within the last book of Revelation, Revelation 2:9 and 3:9. And in here in the center, I've got 10439, 1948 right, 1948 left, 10439. Revelation 2:9, I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich, and I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. Revelation 3:9, behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee. So within there, those two times is talking about people who are saying they are Jews and who are not, right? And really what that's talking about is Christian believers in Jesus. And in those who are saying they are Jews, after the time of Jesus, the Synagogue of Satan are those who are basically saying Jesus didn't exist, and what Christianity stands for is bullshit, is lies. These are the kind of people that would spit on Christians and murder them, whatnot, right? Saying nothing but lies about Christianity and Jesus, and those who would be willing to murder Christians, and like those who murdered Jesus. Revelation 2:9 and 3:9. So that's part of my looking, right, in terms of what the Bible is saying in regards to the synagogue of Satan. Oh, I think I'm going to go back to this, where I started. We're going slow. We're 13 minutes in here already. And I'm going to erase this, right? Synagogue of Satan. I'm going to change the words to all roads lead to Rome. Right, same thing. 652, 670. Synagogue of Satan. Alright, so now that when I'm in here, there's a tie-in numerically and time-wise to Rome here within this phrase. And that's within these keys here. Right, there's a 1 that is a clarifier of the two other numbers, which is 322 and 323, and the 1 won't apply to any other thing. So now it's also important to realize that at the time that if I'm going to say here is 322 AD, 323 AD, at that time there was no such thing even being called 322 or 323 AD. Just like when they talk about the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD, at the time the Council of Nicaea, the first council, happened, there was no such thing as 325 AD. That the entire system that we use now wasn't put into place until about 200 years after that, 525, and then they went back and changed everything to what we see today, right? The BC backwards from 1 backwards, and AD from 1 forwards, right? And it was all set up based on this Lyshrael numbers candidate list and the number 3761, so that the year 1 AM and on Monday would be 3761 BC, and the year 3761 AM and on Monday, the Hebrew calendar, would be both year 1 BC and year 1 AD, actually on the same exact day after sunset. Right? One day in 3761 was both 1 BC and 1 AD, before sunset and after sunset. But at the time, right, when that happened, none of that timing existed. It was placed on there later, around 525. So in this period here, though, 322 and 323, right, these timing systems weren't in existence. But here is in today, when we're looking at it, that's what where those time periods go back to. So the 322 and 323 time period is very, very significant to Rome, because it involves Constantine and the change going on from in Roman religion to Christianity. And also in 322, 323, that's where the entire fight that got dealt with in the First Council of Nicaea in 325, the whole deal with Arius and the different interpretations and teachings within the churches regarding Jesus and God and the Spirit, and what wound up happening after the Council of Nicaea in 325 was the Trinity, right? And that doctrine was then unified across all of the different churches, and all of the people teaching anything different than Trinity were defeated and stamped out. So that this here has a big time significance to Rome, to Christianity, to Constantine, to Arius, and the dispute over the standing of Jesus in terms of Jesus to God, the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, the whole differing concepts that were being taught different in different churches. So that this has a time component to that I can see in here, because I'm familiar enough with the word. Well, this 1 always applies. It has an application to 2 years to clarify those years. It's 322 and 323 AD, Constantine, Rome, Christianity, all of that. So I did some follow-up work on this, right? Because that 1 also is going to have a representation as an Anno Monday year, right? Just like when I started with that 1498, that 1498 and the 1497 have 1 representation in the Anno Monday, which is that first 5258 is the 1 expression of 1497 and 1498 is the 1 expression is 5258. So I'm going to check out the 1 expression that applies to 322 and 323 AD. Oh, I should have probably got prepared a little better with what I was going to share and had it on a separate list instead of using my big giant list. But I don't like to have a ton of different documents, so let me see. Come on. All right. It's 4,083. Right. The 322, 1, 323, 4,083 or 1. Or I could say 4,083 the 1. Right, and in here now it shows us, right, how do we get that? 322 plus 3761 equals 4,083, and that year 4,083 was not only 322, it was 322 and 323, and this whole same mechanism 1 and 3761 is about how 3761 BC is 1 AM, 3761 AM is 1 BC, and 1 AD. The whole setup, which got applied later, after the fact, the period that we're talking about here. So when I put this together here, the 1, 4,083 or 1, right? Or 4,083 the 1. It's the one I'm talking about, right in here. 322, 323. There's only 1 year that could be, and that's 4,083. 4,083 or 1, 4,083 the 1, and then here's the mechanism of how it is 4,083, 322, and 323. Those are the trinity. There's a trinity always in years, right? 322 began as 4,082. Ended as 4,083. That's a trinity. 2 AM years, 1 AD year. 4,083 AM began as 322 AD and ended as 323 AD. That's a trinity. That is 1 AM year and 2 AD years. And the same thing works in terms of the days. And because of the AM years shifting after sunset and the AM days changing after sunset, and the AD days changing after midnight, which is different, right? So you're always having a trinity of days, 2 AD days and 1 AM day, 2 AM days and 1 AD day. And the same thing with years. There's always trinity involved. So everything that we're doing here, and we're tying into this trinity phase in Constantine and Christianity, and all roads lead to Rome, the Synagogue of Satan, and the timing, all of that, right? Well, there's a massive application to everything that has been done in terms of time and the Trinity. Our days are all trinities. 2 different types of trinities. Our years are 2 different types of trinities between the Hebrew and the Roman. And when they give us our alphabet here, what they call our 26 letters, right? Just like the AD years have gone from 1 at 196 to 26 at 1997, right? All 26 have come out, right? And we call that script the alphabet. It's right in there. It's Alpha is Greek, Roman, and Bet is Hebrew. It's a mixture of Greek, of Roman, and Hebrew. Just like that's the same composition of our time mechanisms in the Trinities. It's Greek, Roman, and Hebrew. Right? It's the same way with how the Bible, when people go back to try to look at for the integrity of the Bible, and they go back to the Greek Septuagint and then the different Hebrew works, right? Same thing. That's what our script, A, B to Z, 1 to 26, alphabet, it has those connotations, and it also has left and right connotations, right? Greek and Roman writes left to right. Hebrew writes right to left. So all this stuff, and that's what this Lishrel is, all left and right based. Everything, it all, literally all flows together. Right? So what else did I do? I did something else here. And now I'm going to put in that's 322. I think I had something else going. Let me look. Found this when I was looking at it. 322, right? 322, 323, 323. I found that to be significant, right? Because I'm going off of that Synagogue of Satan, or all roads lead to Rome, 322:1, 323 key. And when I put in those words for the numbers, 323, right? What it's generating, right? 322, and you can see the 322 and the 323 generated when I put in those numbers, the words that represent those numbers with the word and. But this is something else that I did with a different format without the and in it. So, right, starting with the 323, we're going off of this basis, right? And what I had just showed you, that 1 and 3761. Let's take this out. The 1, 4083. So here is 322 plus 3,761 equals 4,083. What do we got here in the key pair? 5708, 5708. One 3783. Cheryl numbers candidates list, 1947, left and right. Or 1497. Any of these first 6 that only apply to both the AM year that already happened and the AD year that already happened. In the 6 instances that the 3761 bridge goes across to the 6 years that only apply to the AM. Right? That lists plus the name Abraham. No, it's 1948. what was it, the word? Key. See, now when I put the key on, now I've got, again, a double anagram of 19. It's very similar to the where I had started with, right? What I started with is 1498, 1498. And the reason I put the word key on here, 13783, right? 5708. This is just 9 different on the right hand side or the bottom side, right? Instead of being 1498 and 1498, it's 1498 and 1489. One has the application of left and right to the 10439, the other one doesn't. All right, there's a left and a right here. There's a right and a wrong here. Different things. So this is another reason why that initial phrase that I started with really jumped out to me, all right, because it's tying into everything that I've been working on. Let's see. So now I'm going to get it back into this. All right, and a lot of this stuff has been getting brought up lately too, right? All the bullshit that happened between Israel attacking Iran and then Iran defending themselves and then the USA coming in and attacking Iran, and there was a big interview between Tucker Carlson and Ted Cruz, and Ted Cruz come on and basically said that he supports Israel because of a Bible verse, which he didn't even know which Bible verse it was, right? But he was saying why he supports Israel is because those who support Israel are blessed, and those who don't support Israel are cursed. And he was trying to tell Tucker Carlson that absolutely that the modern nation of Israel was what is meant within the Bible, right? The former nation of Israel, Jacob, right? That they're one and the same, and all of this crap. And Ted Cruz is basically a Zionist, right? It basically is this Christian who is doing what is basically being said in Revelation 2:9 and 3:9, right? He's on the right side of the aisle, whereas Biden's on the left, and they'll both probably tell you, I'm a Zionist, right? And that's basically people who are non-Jews saying that they're Jews and why the shit that they're doing and that they have done, why they've done it, right? And it was, he didn't even know the Bible verse that he was talking about, but what he was talking about was Genesis 12:2. I'm just going to read real quick, Genesis 12:1 to 12:3. Then the Lord said to Abram, so this is at the time before his name was changed to Abraham, when he still had the name that he was born with, Abram. Then the Lord said to Abram, leave your country, your kindred, and your father's household, and go to the land I will show you. That's verse 1. Verse 2, I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, so that you will be a blessing. Verse 3, I will bless those who bless you, and curse those who curse you, and all the families of the earth will be blessed through you. So what Ted Cruz was bringing up was Genesis 12:3, saying that those who, and he was trying to apply it to Israel, though it does not apply to Israel. Verse 12:2 could apply to Israel on the way to 12:3, saying that this great nation will be made from you. I will make you into a great nation. right, and being the nation of Israel. But then when it comes to 12:3, and it says, I will bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you, and all the families of the earth will be blessed through you. Well, that right there is talking about Jesus, not just the tribes of Jacob, not just the people of Israel, Jews and the Gentiles. All families of the earth will be blessed through you. And of course, Abram at this time here, and I think it goes on in verse 4 to say that Abram was 75 years old at that time, so it would have been the year 2023 AM, right? And in 2023 AD, we had this October 7th shit happen. Very shady stuff there in Israel, right? These people can tell you absolutely everything about everything going on and where these people are and all this stuff in Iran, and whenever they want to, their intelligence agency knows absolutely everything about everything. They can plant pagers all over the place and blow all kinds of people to shit. I mean, their intelligence service is serious fucking deal, real deal, top of the line shit. But then when they don't want to be able to see anything, some kind of bullshit like this October 7th stuff happens, right? Well, that's the same time period here as this Genesis 12 is going on in our AD time, 75 years after the birth of modern nation of Israel, and 75 years after Abraham's birth, right? 2023 AM is when this is happening here, right? And the October 7th is very significant because when you trace it back, that is the most universally agreed upon date for the first day is October 7th of 3761 BC is the start of everything according to different Jewish and other theologians and scholars, right? So it's a very ritually significant thing, and the time period is very significant because it's right here to this period that we're reading this from, Genesis 12, that Ted Cruz and Tucker Carlson were sparring over in their interview. All right, but it says, I will bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you, and all the families of the earth will be blessed through you, Jews and Gentiles, right? And the Gentiles it covers all the Christians, all the people nowadays that say they're Muslims, everybody, absolutely all the families of the earth, right? Jesus covers all of the families of the earth. And of course, Jesus had roots that go through the house that they're talking about, Israel, in the prior verse 12:2, right? I will make you into a great nation and I will bless you, right? That nation that was made had a very significant thing because of what would come out of that nation later, and that is Jesus. And all these people today that are the Israel and Jewish people that don't accept Jesus, it's a very strange thing for all these Christian nations to have set up this state, this Jewish state, and to back this Jewish state and do all the things they do for them when there's a direct contradiction between what they're supposed to be, Christians, and what the current state of Israel and the religion of Judaism is, right? But they'll still say that they're Zionists, right? Which is basically fulfilling what, according to the way I feel and think about it, what is being said in Revelation 2:9 and 3:9. Whereas that this Synagogue of Satan, it's a worldwide thing. It's all of the people that are involved, right? And all of those roads leading from Rome outward, right? Whether it gets to the Anglicans or the whole thing, how everything spread out, right? And these Christian nations, Britain in particular, right? USA was involved, and France had their different. Everybody had their things in it, and creating this nation of Israel, and then propping it up and arming it and doing all the other things that they've done, and then applying different sets of laws to it compared to others, right? Israel do the same thing somebody else does, the other people will be condemned for it, and they won't do anything towards to Israel for it, right? It's basically been a lawless nation the majority or entire time of existence. It's a nation of lawlessness. And the Synagogue of Satan is basically all of these different people who are in power positions in the world, and they're corrupted like all people of power get corrupted, right? They're very, very corrupted, and it's the whole thing has been used in so many different nasty ways. And of course, nowadays, that Synagogue of Satan, which I'll get into a little bit, going back into the words, right, they're really pushing this anti-Semitism, fucking bullshit, and everything else. And, right, it's like you can have free speech and talk about, if you don't like the Palestinian Christians or the Palestinian Muslims, and you can protest them and say what you want and everything, and then somebody try to do the exact same thing towards Israel. They're treated different. It's yet again, it's a lawlessness, right? It's a double standard and a lawlessness thing. Even in a nation like the USA, that's supposed to be freedom of speech, all of these different members of the Synagogue of Satan within the USA who are involved with all the other members in all of the other nations, as this is a worldwide thing here, all of these so-called Zionists, right? They're all double standard and hypocrites. They're what I'm going to be saying is that's what the Synagogue of Satan is. It's all the way from the Catholic Church, all the other churches, all of the leadership positions, everybody everywhere who are Zionists, right? There can be Christian Zionists, atheist Zionists, converted Khazars, all different other conversions, right? People who chose to become Jews way later, who are not even, there's zero chance they're part of the actual bloodline, but it's not a bloodline thing, right? The nation of Israel, it's a spiritual thing. They've been scattered all over to the four corners of the earth and mixed in with all of the other people. It's basically that mixing, it's been erased, right? It's defunct. The Old Testament is gone, there's a New Testament, right? And now the chosen people are all the families of the world, right? And that vehicle is through Jesus, right? In which the modern nation of Israel and the religion of Judaism is in contrast with and against. Right? And all the bullshit that has happened throughout our history with these Jews and all these different countries, Christian nations, right? That's why the root of all of the stuff, why it's happened. And it's very strange how everything shifted from the way it was to the way it is now. All the Christian nations, absolutely everywhere, have always deeply and strongly opposed the Jews and their nations and their belief against Jesus and the church. Right? And now it's totally flopped the other way, which is very, very strange thing. Right? And you have people like Ted Cruz who can't even come up with a Bible verse that he's basing it on, and tries to say that it doesn't even name Israel in it, right? Doesn't even name Israel in it, and everybody knows the stories of Abraham is going to be the father of many, many, many nations, right? And what the story basically is that all these nations are going to come from Abraham and move around all over the planet, right? But there's going to be one that's going to be favored for a while and have a special role to play, and that one is the family of Israel and those 12 tribes coming down. And the reason that role is special is because they're going to be the ones that are going to deliver the one, which is going to be Jesus, that is going to cover all of the other members of the family. And then all of the people that it's not talking about blessing Israel. Let me go back to that verse. It says, I will bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you. That's talking Abraham, not Israel. Israel doesn't even exist at this point, even though it's already predestined that this family is, this great nation is going to come down out through Abraham, along with many other nations, right? It's about a reconciliation process here, right? And the Christians all bless and honor Abraham. The Muslims all bless and honor Abraham, right? And they cover everything else, right? All of the other families, right? In the family of Israel, the actual 12 descendants and 12 tribes from Israel also honor Abraham, right? And all the families of the earth will be blessed through you, which is saying that from Abraham coming down through that one family, it's going to produce Jesus, and it's going to bless and cover everybody from all of his families. No difference in Ishmaelites, people of Esau, any of them, right? Ishmael goes on to has 12 come down off of him, just like Israel does. But then they're the same thing with Esau and all their family members and everybody else, right? Everybody everywhere is covered. All the families of the earth will be blessed through you. So all of these divided nations, many nations that come from you, they'll be reunited from one person coming out of one of those nations that has the special role to deliver that person, right? And that role was fulfilled. And after that, there was no more special role for Israel and those 12 tribes. It's done. It's over. Jesus came. Now, absolutely everybody is the same chosen people. There is no Israel chosen people thing anymore. It's over. It's done with. Unless you talk to those who practice Judaism, and probably a lot of these so-called Christian Zionists, the Synagogue of Satan. All right, so I got this. Now there's a gap that will bring us to 1948. So I started working on that. So I must throw in some of these. So now these are the names after they're changed. right? And they're changed to basically about bringing upon Isaac, right? When Abraham had Ishmael, his name was still Abram. And when he was Abram and had Ishmael with Hagar, Sarah was spelled Sarai with an I at the end instead of an H. Right? And the A and the HA was added to Abraham. I was subtracted and H was added to Sarah about the Isaac thing. So here we're talking about Abraham, Sarah, and then there's the Hebrew letter Lamed, which has a representation of 12. So from here, now we could be talking about from Isaac, and then that being passed to Jacob, Israel, and the 12, right? The Lamed. So it's Abraham, Sarah, Lamed, 12. There's other things that you can put into it, but that's the big thing that I'm seeing, right? From Abraham and Sarah to the 12, that path is Abraham and Sarah to Isaac to Jacob, Jacob being name being changed to Israel, to the 12 tribes of Israel, right? And then that, and we can go on again, and then that goes through down the lineage to Jesus and the 12 disciples. That is another way that we can see that, right? We can not just to end at the 12 tribes of there, we end at the one with the 12 disciples, Jesus, that all families of Abraham, right? So that's one way that we can take it from there to the 1948. I wanted to really work on stuff in this area. Let's see. Now, I don't know so much about this, but Abraham, Hagar's man, that would be saying Ishmael, but at the time when Ishmael was born, he would be Abram, Hagar, Shaman, Abram, Hagar has man, that would be Ishmael, right? And many nations are going to come from Ishmael. They're going to be outside of the 12 of Israel that come from Isaac, right? Down, right? But then they're going to be reunited, right? Which is what Jesus did. So here we have Abraham, Sarah, Lamed, Abram, Hagar has man, right? That's Ishmael. Here we're going to use GD, the Jewish way of representing God, because they love to take the air, the vowels out of everything. There are 22 consonants, right? God Yahweh became Baal. And this is a big thing, one of these big issues with different punishments that have occurred within the Old Testament, right? Adopting the Canaanite religion and all of that type of shit. So there's some of this going on here, right? And in this Synagogue of Satan, right, as it applies to people who say Jesus is not the Savior and Jesus is lies, and those who would kill Christians and those who would kill Jesus, right? All those who go against Jesus, right, is the Synagogue of Satan, and they're basically turning the God of the Bible into a false god like Baal. So you can see there's some harmony in things here, right? As it applies to the Synagogue of Satan, the nation of Israel, and all these warped murderers and liars and those who are against Jesus, right? That's really what these Christian Zionists are. They're when they're supporting and say we must support this nation of Israel and these people who say Jesus is a lie and is not the Savior and did not bless all the families of the earth, only we are blessed, right? They're basically false Jews saying that they're Jews, they're Synagogue of Satan, and they're warping God into a false God type of thing. That's what Joe Biden, Ted Cruz, even Donald Trump, that's what they're doing. All of these Christian Zionists all over the world. That was another thing I had fit in there. Here I've got Asherah involved, right? There were times when the Israelites had Asherah as the consort or the wife of Yahweh. And in the Canaanite religion, Asherah was the wife of Baal. And El was also in that pantheon, right? El and Baal shared a lot of different things. And of course, El, in the meaning of God, everything was adopted. It became part of the Hebrew deal, right? El Shaddai, El Elyon, the Most High, all of these different things, right? And then Hawa is a name for Eve, right? And then there's a shared title, right? Eve, the mother of all, given in Genesis, and Asherah also had the title of mother of all. So this, of course, this stuff here is all related into the area where the modern nation of Israel is, and all of the different things that went down with the former previous nation, actual nation of Israel, and their interactions with the Canaanites and different groups around them, and all of the different stories about the things that happened to them from turning away from their God. So there's this. It's not like you can just fit anything you want in there. Things have to fit. So speak Abram, Isaac, Jacob, a Baal, babe. There's nothing real big about this, but I was trying to put something together regarding those patriarchs in that line, right? That eventually leads down to Jesus, to where that line is no longer has the prominence because everybody's the same after Jesus, Jews and Gentiles, right? And the good, honest, real deal Israelites, they're all the first original Christians, right? And those who were actual descendants of the 12 tribes, most of those they walked away from that and walked to Christianity, and they've been Christians ever since. They're Christians, but they're actual members of the family of Jacob Israel, right? They accepted Jesus, unlike the other ones who didn't accept Jesus and killed Jesus. Right, but this is something you could look at maybe and saying, right, that this led down through the nation of Israel, and then a Baal and a woman type deal had followed them and caused them to stumble. It's not as strong as those other things that I was showing. That's just something that fits in there. Um, Here it would be the names at the time of the married couple. Abram and Sarai are married, right? But then there was a female involved in the deal. That a female would be Hagar, who was a slave, right? That was given to Abram by Sarai. Well, before she was Sarah, before he was Abraham, right? So this is another way. This is a way in here of showing, right? Abram is represented by an actual name, and Sarai, these are free people. These are slave owners, free people, and she's represented by a female, not a name, right? Because she has a different rank. Hagar as a slave in this deal here, servant, right? But that's basically saying Hagar, Abram, Sarai. Uh, See, now this one is different. I was trying to use the three names, but there's no way that you can make the names work, right? There's the three names, Abram, Sarai, and Hagar, right? And this H, or it'd be a CE, right? Has a value of 32 and 23. It actually have to be reversed, which this H in form, especially like this, it could be reversed, and you couldn't even tell if it was forwards or straight. Not like an R. If I reverse an R, you're going to be able to see it. You can't tell if I revert. There's a lot of these different things of reversals within our word, right? But it would have to be a reverse to come out to 1948, 1948. It's like I said, you can't just make anything fit. It is absolutely impossible to use the three names, Abram, Sarai, and Hagar, and have it fit within to the 1948 from there, because you need a 23, 1925 plus 23 is 1948, and a 32. Well, H is 3223, CE is 3223. There's no such thing and no possible combination to make the 23 and 32 besides a reversed letter, which would be H or CE, right? You can't do it. So this here, though it doesn't fit, it's big information here that it cannot be done. It cannot be all in one house brought to that 1948, all three of the names, right? When I put the female or a female, it can be brought there, right? But there's no way possible to put Abram, Sarai, and Hagar with their actual names from birth that they had before the name changes. There's absolutely no way to bring it to here. So that's some of the stuff that I was following up on there. And let's just look at this here. October 7, 3761 BC, very first day, the most most agreed upon starting point in the BC calendar that there is through Jewish and other theologians and scholars. That's why that October 7 stuff that happened in 2023 AD had such a symbolic significance, right? And the vast majority of people here, everybody knows something happened October 7th, 2023 AD. The Israel deal, I'd say much less than 1% have an idea that October 7th, 3761 BC was the first day, and that October 7 attack had a significance back to that very first day where the AM calendar begins, right? October 7, 3761 BC, 5,784 years later, October 7, 2023 AD, right? And again, that's our 1 and our 3761 representation for 3761 BC equals 1 AM. And this is the first day right here on the top, right? When 3761 BC here and 1 AM began, that was it right there, October 7th, right? And then 3761 AM and on Monday became 1 BC and 1 AD much later when they changed the systems, because they weren't counting like that during the time of Jesus. They weren't counting like that for 525 years into what we have the AD system, right? The AD system that we have, it didn't exist for the first 525 years. Then they absolutely changed everything, and the basis of what they were doing and upon was these Lysrael number candidate list numbers, right? So there's a very significant relation here between that October 7 shit that started all this crap and the very beginning in 3761 AD. What else do I got going on here? I just been messing around looking at different stuff, right? Here's this operation name for when the USA came and attacked Iran and dropped those big bombs supposedly on the nuclear facilities, it was called. And you can put it in exactly like this, and all these news are saying U.S. Operation Midnight Hammer, right? Figure 8, 1948. Might be significant, might not, but I thought that was right, something that just happened, and I kept looking and seeing people. They're not saying USA opera, saying U.S. Operation Midnight Hammer, and I saw it once, and I put it in Google and quotations just like it, and just so many things popped up exactly using the same phrase: U.S. Operation Midnight Hammer. U.S. Operation Midnight Hammer. Well, it's got a really big 1948, and it's also that it ties into other things that I have done. The 2018, right? What was it? The right place at the right time. Right. That other one was showing the 2018, but this is a symbolic of a date, September 4th, 2018. This is symbolic of a date, September 4th, 1979, right? Birth 39 years later, 9/4/18, 9/4/79. Operation Midnight Hammer. Alright, so I come across this stuff and then it links into other things and other discoveries I made elsewhere, right? And on that, right, the right place at the right time, right? Israel is the right place at 57:39 is the right time, right? 196 plus 3761 equals 3957 equals 1978 plus 1979. It's the only thing, it's a very, very special thing that happens between. It's the most special trinity of years that there is within the two systems. It's the Gregorian years 1978, 1979, and 5739. They're the only ones that behave the way that they do. And they're also Lyshrael number candidate list based. And so that's, right, again, another Israel thing. U.S. Operation Midnight Hammer. It's Opera TIM. Operation Midnight Hammer. Might be significant, might not. Jogs my mind a little bit looking into it. Right, let's go into okay. I'm gonna get into that other one in a second. I'm gonna show this first here. This phrase here, only Jesus can save the people of Israel. 1948 left, 1948 right, right? The exact same way as all of the other people, right? And this applies to the modern nation of Israel, and this applies to the former nation of Israel, where a huge amount of them are now Christians. They have been, and their families have been ever since, right? There are numerous actual members of the 12 tribes of Israel who are Christians and have been, their families have been for thousands of years already, right? And then there's all these others that don't accept Jesus in the current nation of Israel and in other places, right? All the families of the earth will be blessed, right? From Jesus that come down through those lines from Abraham, right? And that's a significant deal, right? That's basically the meaning of Genesis 12, 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? But 4 is important to where they say Abram was 75 years old. It goes back to the October 7th, 2023 deal. All right, I'm going to do a little bit more and finish this up. We're going to go back to this, the Synagogue of Satan. And which is all roads lead to Rome. And then this is a very big time period about Christianity, Constantine, and when Rome took over Christianity, right? Christianity was a wild animal at the time, and then Rome hijacked it and took it over, and it made it a domesticated animal, right? And Rome decided they were going to control the churches and everything worldwide, right? And really the first big intelligence agencies of the world was the Roman Church and the confession box and all the other bullshit, right? And there's all that stuff in here, right? In terms of time, they lead us to those thinking about that Constantine and the hijack, the whole deal, and everything that's all happened since, and the branches from there spread out to become the Anglican Church, all the other different churches, all of these different Christian nations, and now to eventually to all of these people who are so-called Christian Zionists, which is basically a contradictory statement deal. They're embracers of Israel, which is embracing that Jesus is a lie and Israel is right, right? All of these people, and they are the Synagogue of Satan. But now I'm going to put in the big catchphrase of the fucking day here, right? 652, 670, just to show that this is going to be the same numbers, right? Alright, so here I've got the word anti-Semitism, a tale. Right, it's a story of anti-Semitism, right, which is relatively new shit, right? There was no anti-Semitism. These types of terms didn't even begin to exist or be applied until fairly recent times. The great majority of time, all the Christian nations and the true Christian leaders always had a big issue with the Jews living amongst them, right? And that there was no big giant push for all this bullshit, double standard crap, everything that you see going on today in this massive campaign to say everybody is bad if you question the people of Israel or you question what they're doing or you call them genocidal or maniacs or murderers or say they're wicked or you're anti-Semitic, and they want to block your freedom of speech and everything. It's just unbelievable the kind of shit that is going on, right? The vast majority of the time in Christian nations and Christian leaders would say, hell yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. Those people are nasty. Those people are full of shit. Those people are liars, right? And everything has changed. No, so this is a tale of anti-Semitism, right? And we're going to change that to mad at anti-Semitism. Who's mad at anti-Semitism? The Synagogue of Satan, which is who? Absolutely all of these supporters, and the majority of them are Christian Zionists. Those who are not Jews would say they are, and they're with Israel. And right, that's President Joe Biden when he's out there saying, I am a Zionist. What he's saying is, I am the Synagogue of Satan. Right? Because you're not a Jew, but you're saying that you are, and all. That's who's mad at it, and it's the entire apparatus. Their media complex and their massive government control complex. The whole fucking group of the Synagogue of Satan is who's mad at it. Everybody who's questioning their bullshit, and which is what the nation of Israel has been the whole time. Nothing but bullshit, constant nasty, nasty shit. You're supposed to be a light of the world, right? Not the biggest mass murderer of civilians, right? We got our press that just pumps out shit like crazy about Russia and Ukraine. It says, oh, this giant bombing happened, and oh, there was one person died and 3 was injured, and this civilians, and oh, it's such a big deal, right? But they won't say a word about these hospitals and shit being smashed. It only took like a week or two for Israel to kill more civilians in that war in Gaza after October 7th, 2023 than the entire time Russia and Ukraine has been fighting. But they constantly say, well, Russia terrorizes and tries to commit war crimes against civilians when the numbers are so absolutely low that it shows that they're doing as much as they can to keep civilians out of the way, right? And no war is good. Both sides is some bullshit, right? And that's the lie out of the whole deal there is that, oh, Ukraine is the good guys, the NATO is the good guys, the West is the good guys. It's fucking all bullshit, right? The war started in 2014 when they overthrew the government in Kiev and they killed people and they did it with force. In Crimea in 2014, not even one bullet was fired, not one person was killed, and Crimea came willingly to Russia because they were never part of Ukraine anyways. They were autonomous, right? But that shit all started there. And then the Ukraine government, after the coup and the puppets were installed, they killed tens and tens of thousands of people, civilians, in the Donetsk region for 8 years, from 2014 to 2022, before the shit ever began, right? It was Russia stepping in against a wicked, evil government and those who were basically killing Russian speakers and those with Russian roots in that area. Tens of thousands of them, right? They were committing massive war crimes before the war ever started in 2022. The whole thing is some bullshit, but it's a double standard, right? The amount of civilians, I mean, even the amount of media people killed, I mean, the people bringing in food, the aid workers killed in Israel's war in this really small area of Gaza. It's just the numbers are so fucking crazy, and the behavior is so off the wall, and it's so obvious, and it's so obviously worse than absolutely anything that has been done by Russia in Ukraine. It's so different, right? But it's completely treated different. They're treated like you're right to do this stuff, right? Because they're the people of lawlessness, the nation of lawlessness. They can commit so many crimes, and then it never gets even called a crime. Somebody else can go out of their way trying not to do something, do very minor things in comparison to what Israel is doing, and, well, you got a huge crime, and it's war crimes, and we're coming after you for this, and we're going to call you that, and our media complex is going to sprout it out everywhere and tell everybody about it. It's just a double standard, crazy shit, right? It's from the Synagogue of Satan, those who are mad at anti-Semitism, those who hold the anti-Semitism belt, right? And that belt is all of these things that you're seeing happening. And, you know, I was one of the biggest opposers of Joe Biden that there is, because the liberal agenda is just absolutely wicked, off of the wall, crazy shit, right? But Trump has got his problems too, and one of the big problems is Israel, right? And the anti-Semitism belt is it's what they're whipping out, pulling out to whip all these students. Say, no, you don't have the right to assemble. You don't have the right to free speech. You don't have the right to say any of this stuff. Everything you're doing is wrong, right? And they're cracking down on people like crazy. It's some bullshit, right? And they're pulling funding from universities. Now, a lot of these universities I have issues with because of the liberal poisoning and the absolute sickening destruction of morals that the Democrats and the liberals and in general the university education systems have done. But, you know, two wrongs don't make a right, and the shit that Trump is involved with here with Israel, and especially going against the people of the USA, trying to stamp out your right to have freedom of speech. I mean, people will go out of their way and then try to ruin people's lives and careers and all kinds of things if you get caught up saying one bad thing about the nation of Israel or anything else. I mean, it can have serious fucking consequences to you because, right, they'll pull their anti-Semitism belt out and whip you with it when they're mad at the anti-Semitism that you are sprouting, right? That's the story of anti-Semitism here. And all of that, what's going on, everybody that's pushing the anti-Semitism agenda is Synagogue of Satan. And it's not a left or right thing, it's both sides thing, right? Joe Biden is a member of the Synagogue of Satan. Donald Trump on the right is a member of the Synagogue of Satan. He's really in the middle. Ted Cruz on the right is a Synagogue of Satan. All of these fuckers are Synagogue of Satan. All those who are Zionists and say they're Jews when they're not, saying that they have to support Israel because they're the chosen people of the Bible. They're Synagogue of Satan because what they do is when they're creating this nation of Israel and they're propping this nation of Israel up and they're supporting this lawlessness and they're participating in the lawlessness, what they're doing is they're rejecting the legitimacy of Jesus and they're rejecting the equality of all people having access to Jesus, right? So really, they're both. They're Synagogue of Satan because they're Jews who say they're Jews, but they're not. But they're also Christians. They say they're Christians, but they're not, right? Joe Biden's not a Christian. Joe Biden's not a Jew. Joe Biden is a Synagogue of Satan. Donald Trump is not a Christian or a Jew. Donald Trump is Synagogue of Satan. Ted Cruz is not a Christian or a Jew. Ted Cruz is Synagogue of Satan. All of these motherfuckers all over Europe, all over the world, all these different places, right? And it goes into the Muslim world too. You go into like Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates and Jordan in these areas where they're assisting the nation of Israel, right? They're not Muslims and they're not Jews. They're Synagogue of Satan, right? MBS, King Salmon, whatever the other, Jordan, is it Abdullah? Whatever, I don't know all their names, but I just know their behavior is the same, right? It's into everything. And also, all roads lead to Rome. Islam has their roads to Rome as well, just like this rebirth bullshit going on here with the nation of Israel. All roads lead to Rome. The tentacles all come out to become all of these people who are the worldwide membership of the Synagogue of Satan. Everybody who is with the nation of Israel, supporting the nation of Israel, participating in the bullshit with the nation of Israel, they're all not Christians, not Muslims, they're not Jews, they're the Synagogue of Satan. So that's the moral of this story and this phrase. Now, I've got a lot of other stuff on this, but I've already gone about an hour and a half. But I wanted to pull it apart and show how I look at the different pieces, like as far as they're linking into time, their links into the Lytrail number candidates list, and of course the links into history. And this is absolutely off the wall and absolutely unlike the vast majority of time in Christianity and in Islam, right? The support and cooperation that is going on with the nation of Israel from these people, the leader, corrupted leaders in these Islamic nations, is a massive aberration. And same thing with the leaders of these Christian nations. This is a massive aberration. This is like out of left field stuff. It is stuff that just should be so obviously wrong and disgusting and crazy and out of line, but it's become the norm, right? And now they use their apparatus to try to push upon it that is the right way and the only way, and that's the only thing that's acceptable, and absolutely everybody that's against them and against the nation of Israel is the evil ones, and they're wrong, and this and that, right? It's like they're just like their father, who was a liar and a murderer from the beginning, the entire synagogue of Satan, all of the nations, all of the different religions, the whole damn deal, right? They're all part of the synagogue of Satan, right? It's not just people who are outright saying that they're Jews, right? That's an aggressive way, right? To say I'm a Jewish person, that's an aggressive way of saying it. There's a passive way of saying it, like when Joe Biden says I'm a Zionist, right? And when all of these Islamic leaders and Christian nation leaders and supposedly Christian leaders are with them, they're in a passive way, they're saying that they're Jews and people of Israel, right? But they're the synagogue of Satan. That's what the Revelation 2:9 and 3:9 means, at least to me. And 3:9. So when I'm putting it out there, I'm not just looking at the words and the definition and the history. I'm looking at all of that stuff too, but I'm also looking at all of the different numeric results as they relate into time, and specifically into this Lashrael numbers candidates list here, which adds tons and tons and tons of weight to the way that I'm going about researching and looking into these types of things, that's just not available in any other way. Right? You can look it up, Synagogue of Satan, and there'll be people talking about all roads lead to Rome like crazy, right? And saying all of this stuff. A lot of people are big time against the Catholic Church because they are the ones who hijacked Christianity under Constantine, right? But not a one of them can take you down what I took you down and show you that the term Synagogue of Satan, or all roads leads to Rome, has a very specific time period back to Constantine in 322 and 323, which is 4083 is the one, right? Right, all based upon this, right? Which is not just it's not a random thing of numbers. This is God created list here, right? But of course, men are following it, so it's a thing of always looking at things and then trying to ponder on, well, is God making this happen, or is humans making this happen? And in reality, under the whole thing, it's always God is either making it happen or allowing it to happen for some other type of reason later, right? But the gist of it, right, when we're saying what it's being said in Revelation 3:9. It's basically saying that God is allowing all of this shit to happen with all these Synagogue of Satan members, and this nation of Israel is basically a giant attack on Christianity and Jesus, and a direct contradiction of Jesus and the ability of all of the other people of the world to all together, all families, to be blessed and that to be the chosen people, right? It's saying that all those evil motherfuckers are going to be defeated, and they're all going to bow down and kiss the feet of those who are the real deal, which is those who are Christians, who say that absolutely everybody everywhere in the world has the exact same ability as they do to be saved through Jesus. And they tell the truth and said, we're not any more chosen than anybody else. Absolutely everybody everywhere has the exact same ability to be saved as we do, because we're all blessed equally, right? That's the deal on all of that. So it's basically saying that all this stuff, Israel being allowed to be reborn, and all of the wicked shit that has gone on from the nation of Israel, but much more than that, from all of the nations and all of the leaders that have been involved in recreating Israel, keeping Israel going, and then doing all of the things that Israel and they have done since then, right? That they're all going to come crashing down, and the real deal are all going to prevail. That's what the whole thing is, and it definitely does tie that Genesis 12:1-4 ties right to the Synagogue of Satan verses Revelation 2:9 and 3:9, and all of that stuff is about Jesus, and it's also basically stuff that says outright that an absolutely wicked Synagogue of Satan and nation of Israel is going to rise up and try to confront and destroy and claim that Jesus and Christianity are a lie, even through all of these so-called Christian leaders, right? And I already said it once, and I'll say it one more time before I end. Joe Biden's not a Christian. Joe Biden's not a Jew. He's a Synagogue of Satan. And Donald Trump is not a Christian, and he's not a Jew. He's Synagogue of Satan. And this also Netanyahu, right? Same thing. It's not a Jew. It's Synagogue of Satan. NBS. Saudi Arabia, the crown prince, he's not a Muslim, he's not a Jew, he's Synagogue of Satan. So that's what Synagogue of Satan is. All of these rotten bastards in power that are involved and have been involved with the nation of Israel prior to its existence in its conception, thought process period, to its birth, to all the way through here, and all the way until the nation of Israel is totally dead and erased and gone again, right? That's who the Synagogue of Satan is. All of the nation of Israel, right? Now there are some people right in the nation of Israel. There's Christians in the nation of Israel. They're not part of the Synagogue of Satan. They're there in what is called the nation of Israel, but they're not part of the Synagogue of Satan, right? But all the rest of them that aren't, and all of those propping them up who lie and say that they are Christians or Muslims or anything else, that's who is the Synagogue of Satan. So with that said, please like the video, share the video, and subscribe to the channel if you think that's something you should do, and have a nice day.